They took off on the big family trip, 4 cars, 17 people, one group chat without me. I booked the cabin. I wasn't forgotten. I was cut out, so I cut off their $14,200 vacation. Okay, you are not going to believe what my family did to me. I woke up one crisp winter morning, and the silence was deafening. No texts, no calls, no impatient knocking on my door. Just the numbers on my clock, 8:14 a.m. My heart immediately knew something was terrifyingly wrong. I was supposed to be halfway to our family's luxury Christmas cabin, but they hadn't just forgotten me. They deliberately uninvited me, leaving me behind like an inconvenient afterthought. It was a betrayal so calculated, so utterly cold, that it shattered everything I thought I knew about love and family. I grabbed my phone, the screen cold against my fingertips. Nothing. No notifications. My house held its breath around me as I swung my legs over the edge of the bed. The hardwood chilled my bare feet. As I moved through my Denver townhouse like a ghost, listening for something that wasn't there. In the kitchen, I turned on the coffee maker, its gentle gurgle the only sound beyond my own breathing. My phone sat silent on the counter as I opened my calendar app. There it was, bold and unmistakable. Family Christmas trip, Breckenridge Cabin, 6:30 a.m. departure. My stomach dropped. I was supposed to be picked up nearly 2 hours ago. Did they forget? Did plans change? I dialed my mother's number, fingers trembling slightly. She answered on the 4th ring. Brielle? Honey? Is everything okay? Her voice carried that distinctive Morgan family lilt, warm and honeyed on the surface. Mom, what happened this morning? Nobody picked me up. A pause. Too long. Wait, you're not with Brooke's car? We thought you left. Already. What? The word escaped me, sharp and sudden. Mom, we agreed you'd swing by at 6:30. I've been ready since. Oh dear, she interrupted, her voice rising slightly. There must have been a misunderstanding. Brooke said she'd text you about driving yourself since you're coming from the opposite direction. Didn't she reach out? The lie settled between us, transparent as glass. My sister Brooke lives 3 blocks from me. No, Mom, she didn't. Well, we're almost to the cabin. Now, maybe you can still drive up? The roads aren't too bad. Her voice brightened artificially. We'd hate for you to miss Christmas, sweetie. The coffee maker beeped. I poured myself a cup, watching the steam rise. I'll figure something out, I said finally. That's my girl. The relief in her voice was palpable. Call when you're on your way. I hung up and stared out the kitchen window. Snow fell in lazy spirals, dusting the world white while something cold and heavy settled in my chest. 2 hours later, I was still at my dining table, scrolling through emails, when my phone vibrated. A text from Brooke, but not to Meadow, our family group chat that I was apparently removed from. She must have hit the wrong thread. It read, "She's really not here. OMG, our plan worked." The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering against the floor. Brown liquid splashed across the white tile, seeping into the grout-like blood. I stared at the text as 17 years of being the family fixer crystallized into one brutal truth. I was never forgotten. I was uninvited. 3 weeks earlier, of course I can help with the reservation, I'd said into my office phone. Voice low enough that my coworkers couldn't hear. Outside my window, Denver's skyline stood sharp against a crisp, blue November sky. Let me pull up the listing again. The luxury cabin appeared on my computer screen. 7 bedrooms, hot tub, panoramic mountain views, private chef available for additional fee. The Morgan family Christmas extravaganza, expected to accommodate 17 people from 3 generations. So that's 14 nights at just over $1,000 per night, I continued, credit card already in hand. The Westbrook financial risk analyst in me calculated rapidly. Roughly 2 weeks of my post-tax salary. Of course, I'll put it on my card. Everyone will Venmo me after, right? I laughed lightly, ignoring the fact that last year's reimbursements arrived monthly, not daily, and Some never came at all. Wonderful, Ms. Morgan. Your confirmation number is BRK14792. The reservation agent's voice was professionally cheerful. Will there be anything else today? No. That's perfect. Thank you. I hung up, watching the confirmation email arrive in my inbox as my phone pinged with the credit card alert. $14,200 charged to my Visa. Something nagged at me. The family vacation planning always involves endless group texts and conference calls about sleeping, arrangements, and meal plans. But this year, nothing. Just Mom's request that I handle the reservation, since you're so good with these things, dear. I glanced at my silent phone then. Dismissed the thought. They're probably just busy. I'll organize a planning call next week. Now, as coffee spread across my kitchen floor, I moved through my townhouse with new eyes. Evidence of my family's dependence on me was everywhere. The Amazon account on my laptop showed purchases I never made. Benjamin's gaming headphones. Dad's specialty coffee. Brooke's endless beauty products. The Netflix profile page displayed names I didn't create. Mom's shows. Ben's list. Brooke plus kids. In my office later that day, I opened the filing cabinet where I keep financial records. Credit card. Statements revealed a pattern. Restaurant charges when I treated everyone to dinner. Plane tickets. For emergency visits. Loans that were never repaid. My calendar was a mosaic of family obligations. Help Mom with doctor appointment. Pick up Brooke's kids from school. Fix Dad's computer. Host. Thanksgiving. I slid into my dining chair, surrounded by the evidence of years of being used. My hands trembled as I opened my laptop and navigated to Airbnb. The Breckenridge reservation appeared on my screen, mocking me with its mountain views and promises of holiday cheer. The cursor hovered over cancel reservation as tears streamed down my face. Years of training as a risk analyst had taught me to evaluate costs and benefits, to identify patterns, to protect against exploitation. I never applied those skills to my own life. With a single, deliberate click, I erased their holiday plans. The confirmation screen appeared. Your reservation has been canceled. My phone lit up. Instantly. The first call of what would become 96 missed calls. I turned off my phone, walked calmly to the kitchen, and poured myself a cup of coffee. For the first time in 17 years, the Morgan family would have to solve their own problems. And I would finally solve mine. A day later, my phone vibrated against the kitchen counter, skittering across the granite like a wounded animal. I watched it, detached, as coffee dried in brown puddles around my bare feet. Brielle, please call us back. Mom's first voicemail came at 9:42 a.m., confusion threading through her honey-smooth voice. There must be some misunderstanding about the reservation. By 10:15, the tone changed. What do you think you're doing? Her voice sharpened, the Morgan family lilt, hardening into something brittle. Your father is absolutely livid. Call me immediately. At 11:30. Sweetie, please. We can work this out. Whatever upset you, we can fix it. The familiar manipulation settled in, soft and insidious as winter fog. I poured another cup of coffee, leaving my phone untouched on the counter. The notifications piled up like snowdrifts against a door. Brooke's texts arrived in strategic waves. First, denial. This is clearly a mistake with Airbnb's system. Then blame. If you had joined our planning calls instead of always working, this wouldn't have happened. Finally, the calculated appeal to guilt. The kids are crying. Thanks for ruining Christmas. I opened my laptop and navigated to the family's group chat, the one they created after removing me. Logan, Brooke's boyfriend of 2 years, had quietly added me back last night with a simple message. You should see this. The screenshots told a story 3 weeks in the making. Mom. Has anyone heard from Brielle about the cabin? Brooke, she booked it. Card confirmation came through. Ben, did anyone actually invite her? Dad, she's paying for it. That's invitation enough. Brooke, she's always working anyway. Probably won't even notice if we forget to pick her up. Their words burned through me, igniting something that's been smoldering for years. I stood in my living room, spine straightening as if pulled by an invisible string. The broken pieces of the old Brielle, the one who apologized for having needs, who smiled while being erased, shifted and realigned into something stronger. I moved through my townhouse with purpose now, gathering evidence with the same methodical precision I bring to risk analysis at work. Bank statements spread across my dining table. Venmo requests never fulfilled. Credit card statements highlighting thousands in charges for family emergencies. That somehow included spa treatments and concert tickets. In my home office, I discovered a voice memo from last Thanksgiving, accidentally saved when Mom called while I was working. Voices swam through the tiny speaker. Always so busy making sure everything's perfect, Mom says, her voice warm with wine. That's our Brielle, Dad answers with a chuckle. Never says no, does she? Thank God for that, Brooke adds. Who else would pay for all this? Their laughter cut through me, sharper than any blade. I scan my bookshelf, finding the last 3 family photo albums. In 27 group photos, I appear in only 4, always partially obscured, always on the edge. Present enough to write the check, absent enough to be forgotten. The final blow came from Facebook, where Brooke had been telling mutual friends I was too busy with work to attend family gatherings I was never invited to. Photos of birthday celebrations, weekend barbecues, and impromptu gatherings, all scheduled when I had explicitly mentioned being available. I stood before my living room window, watching snow blanket Denver in pristine white. My reflection stared back. A woman I barely recognized, someone who has spent 17 years building a fortress of obligation while calling it love. With steady hands, I opened my laptop and created a new document, Family Financial Records. 2008 to 2025, I typed, then began a methodical accounting of every loan, every gift, every temporary charge to my credit cards. The total made my stomach clench. $157,842. I moved through my digital life with surgical precision, changing passwords on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and every other account they've colonized. Each change felt like shedding a layer of invisible weight. My phone buzzed again. Aunt Lainey, Mom's younger sister, the family's self-proclaimed black sheep. I saw what they did, she says without preamble, her voice warm and solid as a hearth in winter. I've watched them take advantage of you for years, Brielle. My throat tightens. You knew. Honey, they did the same to me before I put my foot down. That's why your mother barely speaks to me. She pauses. I'm not saying it's easy, standing up to them. But I'll stand with you when you do. As we talked, a text from Logan appeared. They're scrambling to find a new place. Nothing available. Your dad keeps saying you'll come to your senses. You deserve to know what they've been saying. After hanging up with Lainey, I opened my laptop again. The Breckenridge Inn website loaded, a small, charming alternative to the luxury cabin my family expected. I booked a single room for the 24th of December through the 26th, paying with my own credit card, mine alone. In my bathroom mirror, I rehearsed what I'd say to them. I am not my bank account. My voice was steady, my eyes clear. I am not your unpaid assistant or your ATM. I am your daughter, your sister. And you forgot that. The words echoed against tile walls, gaining strength with each repetition. In my bedroom, I packed a small overnight bag, clothes I bought myself, books that matter to me, the silver earrings Aunt Lainey gave me for my 30th birthday. Nothing borrowed, nothing shared, nothing that belongs to anyone but me. I checked the weather forecast for Christmas Eve. Clear roads to Breckenridge. I'll arrive at 7 p.m., exactly when family tradition demands everyone gather for the Christmas Eve dinner. Only this year I'm not coming to serve. I'm coming to be heard. The next day, the mountain road unfurled before me like a ribbon of asphalt against pristine white. My hands gripped the steering wheel as snow drifted lazily across my windshield. Classic Christmas. Carols floated from the radio, Bing Crosby crooning about White Christmas while I navigated hairpin turns through the Colorado Rockies. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. I jabbed the power button, silencing Bing mid-dream. The quiet that followed felt like a bomb. No cheerful family sing-alongs. No Brooke complaining about my driving speed. No mother asking if I remembered to bring the gifts I purchased for everyone. Just silence. My choice. My phone sat dark on the passenger seat. Turned off since yesterday, the screen no longer lighting up with frantic messages from family members who suddenly remember my importance when their luxury accommodation vanishes. I passed the "Welcome to Breckenridge" sign, the familiar wooden landmark dusted with fresh powder. How many times have I driven this route? Always with a car full of chattering relatives. Always with my trunk packed with extra supplies no one else thought to bring. The memory of last year's trip surfaces. Dad forgetting his blood pressure medication. Mom realizing she'd left all her toiletries at home. Brooke's kids needing entertainment I'd thoughtfully packed. What would we do without you, Bree? They'd laughed. Now they know. The blue spruce inn appeared around the bend. A modest 2-story building with snow-covered eaves. And warm yellow lights spilling from its windows. Nothing like the luxury cabin with its panoramic views and private chef. This place is smaller. Warmer. Paid for with cash that belongs only to me. The innkeeper, a woman with silver hair and laugh lines around her eyes, welcomed me with genuine warmth. Checking in alone for Christmas? She asks, her voice free of pity. Yes, I answer, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Just me. Well, we're glad to have you. She hands me an actual metal key attached to a wooden keychain. Room 7. Best view of the mountains. My room is simple but comfortable, a queen bed with a patchwork quilt, pine furniture that's seen decades of visitors, and windows that frame snow-covered peaks. I place my single suitcase on the luggage rack and stand before the antique dresser mirror. The woman staring back looks familiar but different. Same blonde bob, same blue eyes, same small scar above my right eyebrow. But something has shifted in my expression. The perpetual readiness to please has hardened into something more solid. I touched the mirror's surface, tracing my reflection. Am I overreacting? The doubt slithered in. Familiar and insidious. 17 years of being the family fixer had conditioned me to question my right to stand up for myself. What if this ruins everything? What if, after tomorrow, I have no family left? My throat tightened. For all their flaws, they're the only family I have. The Morgans, imperfect, demanding, but mine. Childhood memories flashed before me. Dad teaching me to ride a bike, Mom braiding my hair before school, Brooke and I sharing secrets under blanket forts. I sank onto the edge of the bed, hands trembling slightly. The weight of potential permanent estrangement pressed against my chest. A memory surfaces, my 8th birthday. I'd opened a wrapped box containing a beautiful doll, only to have Brooke begin crying because she wanted one too. Without hesitation, I'd handed it over. You can have mine, I'd said. The approval in my parents' eyes had been unmistakable. The lesson learned. My worth was measured by what I was willing to give up. How many times had that scene repeated itself throughout my life? Different circumstances, same message. A knock at my door startled me from the memory. Aunt Lainey stood in the hallway, snowflakes melting on her auburn hair, her green eyes so unlike her sister's, sprinkled with concern. I thought you might need reinforcements, she says, pulling me into a hug that smells of cinnamon and winter air. We sat by the window, steaming mugs of tea warming our hands as twilight painted the mountains purple. Lainey listened as words poured from me, years of accumulated hurts, realizations, and fears. I should have seen it sooner, I confess. The pattern was so obvious. Lainey nods. I watched your mother do the same thing to me when we were younger. I was always the responsible one. The one who made everything work while Carla got all the attention. How did you break free? I ask. Her eyes grow distant. A Christmas much like this one, 30 years ago. I'd paid for a family trip to Aspen, and your mother accidentally gave me the wrong address for the rental. I spent Christmas Eve driving around looking for them. She smiles sadly. That was my last Morgan family Christmas for 5 years. 5 years. The thought of such disconnection sends panic through me. The time apart was necessary. When I came back, it was on my terms. She reaches for my hand. The question isn't whether they'll miss you, Brielle. It's whether you'll allow yourself to be missed. Without rushing in to fill the void, the truth of her words settled into my bones. I straightened my spine, meeting her gaze. I deserve better than this, I say, testing the words, feeling there. Wait. Yes, Lainey says simply. You do. A text message chimes from Lainey's phone. She glances at it, then turns the screen toward me. Logan's here, she says. Minutes later, Brooke's boyfriend appears at my door, snow dusting his dark hair. His expression is a mixture of discomfort and determination. You should hear this, he says, placing his phone on the small table between us. Brooke doesn't know I recorded it. He presses play. My sister's voice fills the room. Mom. Seriously, it's fine. Brielle won't even notice she's been cut out. She's so busy taking care of everyone else, she doesn't even realize when no one's taking care of her. It's actually kind of sad. My mother's voice responds with a laugh. Well, she does make it easy, doesn't she? The recording ends. Logan looks at me, genuine regret in his eyes. I'm sorry, they've been planning this for weeks. Oddly, instead of pain, I feel clarity. The final piece of evidence I needed. That evening, unexpected connections began to appear like stars emerging in a dark sky. A text from my colleague Marta, missing you at the office. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday. Another from my neighbor Robert. Checked your mail and brought in your packages. All good at home. The innkeeper slips a small wrapped package under my door, a handmade ornament with a note. For your Christmas away, sometimes the best traditions are the new ones. I arranged these small tokens on my nightstand, physical proof that connection exists beyond the bonds that have confined me. By morning, certainty had replaced doubt. I selected my outfit with deliberate care, soft gray sweater, dark jeans, and the pearl earrings that were my grandmother's, professional but comfortable armor for the battle ahead. I fastened the silver necklace Dad gave me for my 30th birthday around my neck. Not as a concession, but as a reminder. I am still a Morgan, but on my terms. My laptop held the digital presentation I'd prepared, screenshots, financial records, voice recordings, including Logan's devastating contribution. Evidence not meant to punish, but to illuminate. From my wallet, I removed every credit card except one, leaving only cash in its place. The symbolic weight of this small act steadies me. In the mirror, I meet my own gaze one final time. The woman looking back is no longer asking for permission to exist. She already knows her worth. On Christmas Eve, the maitre d' guided me through Aspen Ridge, Breckenridge's most exclusive restaurant. Christmas trees adorned with tiny white lights illuminated the path between tables of holiday diners. Families toasted with champagne flutes while carols played softly in the background. A soundtrack for the privileged and connected. For the loved. I spotted them before they saw me. 17 Morgans crowded around 3 pushed-together tables near the stone fireplace. Mother laughed too loudly at something Benjamin says. Dad swirled his whiskey with that practiced motion he perfected in business dinners. Brooke leaned toward her boyfriend, hand on his arm, face animated. My family, whole without me. Their table fell silent as I approached. A ripple of awareness spread. From cousin to aunt to uncle. 17 faces turned toward me with expressions ranging from shock to guilt to something harder to name. Is that defiance in Brooke's eyes? Between my cousin Rachel and my uncle Alan sat an empty chair. Perhaps habit, perhaps hope, perhaps merely the universe's cruel sense of irony. I straightened my spine, adjusted the strap of the laptop bag on my shoulder, and moved forward with deliberate steps. Brielle, Mother recovered first, voice rising with artificial brightness. She stood, arms outstretched as if we'd planned this reunion all along. We've been so worried about you. Brooks. Nervous laughter punctuated the silence. There was such a mix-up with the cars. Her words spilled out too quickly. I thought Mom told you to drive up on your own since you're coming from the opposite side of town. 3 blocks. We live 3 blocks apart. Around the table, cousins studied their menus with sudden fascination. Aunt Patricia adjusted her napkin. Uncle John cleared his throat twice. Dad stood, shoulders squared, mouth set in that familiar line that precedes his taking control of an uncomfortable situation. Well, you're here now. That's what matters. His tone suggested we'd reached the end of any discussion about my absence. We ordered appetizers for the table. Sit down, Bree. You look like you're about to give a presentation. The familiar nickname landed like a slap. 17 years of being Bree when they need something, Brielle when they're angry. Only Aunt Lainey calls me by my full name regardless of circumstance. Before we start, I say, my voice steadier than I imagined possible, I have something to show you. All. I place my laptop on the table, carefully positioning it where everyone can see the screen. The restaurant hum continued around us, but at our table, the silence thickened. Brielle, honey, is this really necessary? Mother's smile remained fixed, but her eyes darted nervously around the restaurant. We're celebrating Christmas. This will only take a moment. I opened my carefully prepared presentation. First slide, a screenshot of the Airbnb confirmation. Second, the credit card statement showing the $14,200 charge. Third, the calendar invitation I sent to everyone with pickup details. What exactly are you doing? Dad's voice dropped dangerously low. I continued without answering, clicking to the next slide. Screenshots of text messages where my name appears. Then the voice memo. I pressed play and Brooke's voice filled our corner of the restaurant. Don't worry. She's used to being left out. She won't even notice. The blood drained from Brooke's face. Around the table, expressions shifted from embarrassment to horror as they realized what I'd compiled. My younger cousins exchanged glances. Aunt Patricia's hand covered her mouth. No one spoke. Turn that off, Dad hissed. I did, but only because I've made my point. This is ridiculous. Brooke says, voice trembling. It wasn't just me. Everyone agreed. She looked around wildly. Tell her. You all said it would be easier without her constant managing everything. Brooke, mother scolds. Then turns to me with tears already forming. Darling, you're making too much of this. There was a misunderstanding about transportation, that's all. Dad leaned forward. Let's discuss this privately. Not make a scene in a public restaurant. Morgan family business stays private. Yes. Morgan family business. The code phrase meant to silence dissent through shame. Cracks appeared in their unified front as Uncle John muttered, I never agreed to exclude her. Cousin Rachel stared accusingly at Brooke. My 19-year-old nephew Tyler looked genuinely confused. Family loyalty goes both ways, Mother says, tears now falling freely. Her hand reaches for mine across the table. I pull back slightly, just enough to remain untouched. After everything we've been through together. Dad's voice deepens with authority. Morgan family values include forgiveness, Brielle, and discretion. His emphasis on the last word makes his meaning clear. A good daughter would not expose family secrets. After all we've done for you. Brooke adds, voice thick with indignation. Her mascara smudges as she wipes angrily at her eyes. You've always been so difficult, so judgy about how we live our lives, and now you pull this. The familiar pressure descends, the expectation that I'll fold, apologize, make peace without receiving genuine acknowledgement. The weight of family. Tradition demands I carry this moment's discomfort rather than force them to face their actions. I looked around the table at my family, these people whose financial emergencies I've resolved, whose conflicts I've mediated, whose celebrations I've funded. For the first time, I truly saw the transaction that has defined our relationship. And I am done overpaying. I remained standing while my family sat, 17 faces arranged around tables pushed together like mismatched puzzle pieces. The restaurant bustled around us, ambient Christmas music floating through the air. It's the most wonderful time of the year, playing with cruel irony as I clutched my laptop to my chest. A shield. A weapon, evidence. Well, Mom broke the silence first, her voice wavering. Are you going to sit down and talk to us like adults? Or make a scene? The words hit their mark, the familiar sting of manipulation wrapped in reasonableness. I noticed a couple at a nearby table glance our way, then quickly looked down at their menus. My family has always been good at this, conducting warfare in whispers. I think I've earned the right to stand, I say, my voice steadier than I expected. The weight of unspoken resentments filled the space between us like invisible smoke. Dad cleared his throat, straightening the silverware by his plate. Brielle, this has all gotten out of hand. If you'd just answer your phone once in a while. I've been answering phones for 17 years, I interrupt, the words slipping out before I can stop them. Every crisis, every favor, every time one of you needed something fixed. Brooke's mascara is already smudged, her eyes wet. But it's Christmas, she pleads, as if the holiday itself is a get-out-of-consequences card she can play. How could you do this to us? To the kids. I place my laptop on the table, opening it carefully. The screen illuminates with evidence I've gathered over years. Screenshots, spreadsheets, voice memos. How could I? The question hangs there, brittle as icicles. Let me show you exactly how. You've left me no choice. Dad's face hardened as he glanced at the screen. We'll lose the deposit if you don't reinstate the reservation, he says, his voice dropping into the authoritative tone he uses when closing insurance deals. Over $14,000, Brielle. Is that what you want? To punish the entire family financially. The restaurant seems to shrink around us. A server approaches, notices the tension, and veers toward another table. I'll pay you back, Brooke promises, reaching for my hand across the table. I step back. Everything, I swear. Just call and get the cabin back. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a cloth napkin. We can sort out the money later. What matters is family. The money, I repeat, tasting the words. That's what you think this is about? Benjamin shifts uncomfortably in his seat. What else would it be about? We know you're good with money, Brie. You always have been. A laugh escapes. Me, short, hollow. That's the problem. You think you know me, but you only know what I can do for you. I turn the laptop to face them, scrolling through the gallery of evidence. Text messages. Planning my exclusion. Voice memos joking about my generosity. Financial records showing thousands of dollars of unrepaid loans. I didn't cancel Christmas, I say, my voice quiet but carrying across the table. I canceled being erased. My family stared at me, expressions shifting between shock, guilt, and most telling, calculation. They're already planning how to navigate this, how to bring me back into the fold without changing anything fundamental. We've always appreciated you, Mom. Starts, her voice wobbling. No, I cut her off. You've appreciated what I provide. There's a difference. I closed the laptop and looked at each of them in turn. I'm setting new boundaries. I won't be your ATM, your secretary, or your safety net anymore. I'm worth more than what I can provide for you. Silence fell over the table, heavy and thick. Then, from the far end, a chair scraped back. Aunt Lainey rises, her silver-streaked hair catching the light. I'd almost forgotten. She was here, the family's other outsider, watching from the margins. I've kept quiet for too long, she says, her voice carrying across the table. I've watched you all lean on her for everything, and now you act like she doesn't matter? This ends tonight. Mom's mouth falls open. Lainey, this isn't. It is exactly my business, Lainey interrupts, moving to stand beside me. Her hand rests on my shoulder, warm and steady. You should have never had to prove your worth to your own blood. The touch nearly breaks me. Years of keeping my spine straight while bending to their needs catches up. In a rush of emotion, I swallow back. Across the table, I watch my cousins exchange glances. Emily, just 19, whispers something to her brother. The ripple of recognition spreads, the younger generation seeing the dynamic for what it is, perhaps for the first time. Dad stands abruptly, throwing his napkin onto his plate. I won't sit here and be lectured in public. His chair tips backward as he strides toward the exit. Mom's careful composure crumbles, her sobs no longer the delicate, attention-seeking kind, but raw and frightened. Brooke's face transforms, the mask of sisterly concern slipping to reveal what looks startlingly like envy. You'll regret this, she hisses no longer performing for our audience when you're alone and nobody cares. I already was, I say. Simply. I turn away, Aunt Lainey's arm linked through mine as we walk toward the exit. Behind us, the family that defined me for 34 years splinters like ice in spring thaw. For the first time since I discovered their betrayal, I feel the strange, sharp pleasure of breathing freely. 6 months can change everything. I stand before the freshly painted storefront, scissors in hand. The red ribbon stretching across the entrance like a finish line. Sunlight catches on the gold. Lettering emblazoned across the glass, uninvited, a co-working space for new beginnings. Ready? Aunt Lainey asks, her hand warm on my shoulder. A small crowd has gathered on the sidewalk, not family by blood, but something more precious, people who choose to be here. Absolutely, I say. And cut. The ribbon flutters to the ground as applause erupts. I push open the door, welcoming everyone into the space I've created from the ashes of betrayal. Exposed brick walls surround. Clusters of ergonomic workstations. Natural light pours through skylights, illuminating communal tables where independent professionals can collaborate rather than compete. This is incredible. Brielle, says Marcus, a graphic designer who signed up as my first member. From canceled Christmas to this, I guide him toward the reception area, where a simple frame hangs behind the desk. Inside, a screenshot of Brooke's accidental text message, she's really not here. OMG. Our plan worked. Below it, in my handwriting, now I am. That's my reminder, I tell him. Some exclusions create new doors. The next hours blur into handshakes and congratulations. I move through the crowd, finally, comfortable in my own skin. The woman who once checked her phone obsessively now lets it sit, forgotten in her pocket. Dr. Winters, my therapist of 5 months, catches my eye across the room and raises her glass of sparkling cider. Our Tuesday sessions began with tears but evolved into strategies, recognizing patterns, setting boundaries, practicing the powerful word no without following it with explanations or apologies. Last Christmas feels like another lifetime. After leaving the restaurant in Breckenridge, Lainey and I drove back to her cabin and spent the holiday with her 2 dogs and a bottle of good bourbon. We talked until dawn, my first Christmas wear. Giving wasn't mandatory and love wasn't contingent. A throat clearing pulls me back to the present. Benjamin stands awkwardly by the door, my younger brother looking suddenly older than his 28 years. This place is really something, Bree, he says, using my childhood nickname. Mom sends her. Well, she wanted me to give you this. He hands me an envelope. I don't open it. And Brooke, Ben, shifts his weight. Still says you overreacted. Dad backs her up. I nod, unsurprised. And you? I'm trying to understand. That's why I'm here. It's more than I expected. Not all bridges rebuild at the same pace. Later, as the crowd thins, I walk through the space that was once just a business plan scrawled in therapy homework. The back room hosts weekly support groups for people healing from exploitative relationships. The podcast booth is where I recorded the video that resonated with thousands online. Not because I sought viral fame, but because people recognized their own stories in mine. The evening sun paints the walls gold as I lock up. Outside, Lainey waits with Logan, who left my sister after witnessing her true nature that night in Breckenridge. Dinner at my place, Lainey announces. The others are heading over now. Others means my chosen family, the circle that formed naturally, in the vacuum of what I lost. We gather monthly now, sharing meals without keeping score of who brought what or paid for which. I touch the frame by the door one last time before turning off the lights. Snow begins to fall outside, fat flakes swirling in the glow of street lamps. I step through the doorway, not looking back. The woman who was uninvited to Christmas now welcomes others daily. The space I hold isn't just physical, it's permission to value yourself first. And that's a gift worth giving.